Hi. Before I start today's session, I'd like to introduce Mr. Avelo Roy to you. Mr. Roy is a tech entrepreneur, a TEDx speaker, a TV host, and an investor. He's a serial entrepreneur having built 8 businesses in the United States of America worth multi-million dollars, worth of products and services ranging from consumer electronics, AI systems, healthcare process automation, food science, wireless communication, wearable technology, and graphical password applications. Currently, Mr. Roy runs the largest startup incubator in East India called Kolkata Ventures, with 400 plus revenue generating startups. He has been listed as the 40 must follow individuals by the startup ecosystem called Bister. The topic for today, which most of the budding college students are interested in, is how to start a startup. So now, without wasting any more time, I just like to get on to the Q&A segment, wherein a lot of college students wanted to ask a few questions. So I've listed down a few of the questions which I believe are the most important and something that can get the students, going. The first one would be, what, according to you, is the definition of a startup?
A startup is a temporary organization that is meant to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. So a business model is basically your effort, your money, your time goes in, you create value, solve problems for people, and revenue comes out. This whole system is a business model. Now, to find that, to search for that, you need to try different methods, you need to try different options, try different geographies, markets, and then you finally figure out, this is a repeatable, scalable model. And once you figure that out, then you're a business, right? So that search process, which can take a few months to a few years, that's the startup definition of a lean startup methodology.
So, how would you suggest a student, what are the key points that one must remember? You could say, let's say 3 points that someone must remember in order to plan or go for a startup. Like what, according to you, goes on to the planning process?
First is find a problem that's worth solving, right? So people come with ideas, and ideas don't mean anything because everybody has ideas. But when you have a problem, then even if you have something 50% or 70% there, people will be willing to pay for imperfect product, like cabs. We all have had that issue. Cabs won't come, and whether it's New York or London or Calcutta, it doesn't matter, right? And Uber builds something which charges more, but people are willing to pay for it because it solves a dire problem. Transportation. So figure out a problem, figure out it's a problem for a big enough market. Now by big, I don't mean number, I mean buying power. So for example, in India, we have a lot of YouTubers, right? Our YouTubers get a lot more subscribers, but they get paid peanuts. Whereas the US guy gets paid a lot because the buying power of an American is more than an Indian, apparently, right? So similarly, you have to look for, is the market big enough? Is the problem dire enough? And if you have a team, because you cannot do everything by yourself, right? So God has given you a few gifts, but then you bring in few other people with their skills and talents put together, you can solve the problem, build a minimum viable product, and then you test, you learn. People will say initially, no, doesn't work for me, works for me, and then eventually you come to a point where like, I like this, I don't like that, and you focus on the I like this part, and you forget the I don't like part, and you build, test, learn, and come to a point where like, I have something that's worth selling.
Okay.
It's not perfect, but it's worth selling.
So we all start from, it's like a full circle where you start with the problem and then there are ways to, implement a process in order to solve that problem.
Correct.
But only if the market is big enough.
If the market is big enough, yes.
Right, okay. So which brings me to my next question. What, according to you, are the pros and cons of a startup versus going to a regular 9-to-5 job?
See, it's not for everyone. I'll be very honest with you. In a startup, so if you're a startup entrepreneur, after 2 years, you're still sleeping on your friend's couch, and your classmates are buying, their first car and their first houses and getting married, and you're still struggling. That's the reality of a startup entrepreneur. Some people can take it, some people can't. The good part is you struggle for a few months or few years, 20 hours, 18-hour days. But once you succeed, right, the rest of your life you live like a legend. If you don't succeed, let's say, right, still that's amazing. Because for example, every year I get a call from Google asking me, come work for us. And I tell them, I am successful at what I do. They're like, yes, be successful under us. Right? We'll give you all the freedom, all the money, but work for us. And that's true for a lot of people. Cred, for example, Kunal Shah's new startup, is being named by LinkedIn as the top, 10 startups this year. 50 failed entrepreneurs are working in Cred, right? Getting paid good sums of money, and they've been able to do so much more than a normal employee. So the point is, whether you fail in a startup or succeed, either way you win. because if you fail, you will get a very good job, because in those few months you've learned so much more than an MBA, right? From cleaning your floor to talking to lawyers to investors to finances, an engineer will get exposed to everything, right? So nothing to lose. If you do succeed, then God bless you. You'll be, making so many people happy. Making so many problems go away with your creativity, with your innovations. So either way, there's no loss.
According to you, how do you get funding for a startup? Like if I'm a college student, how do I've heard a lot from, motivation speakers and stuff, that you need to have the right pitch deck, you need to have the right mindset. All that is very, I feel, superficial. But, someone who's been like on ground and knows everything from a grassroots level, like what, according to you, like how should a college student, get funding for a startup?
Correct. And first of all, stop listening to motivational speakers, because that's where you'll end up. So funding is something, so for example, if you buy a product, right? If you buy a car, you would first want to see the car has been crash tested. But if you put your family in there and you drive it around, because you don't want it to blow up and kill yourself. So similarly in a startup, the investor, now 2016, 2015 investors were not so intelligent. They were investing in ideas. Now investors want to see, because technology is cheap or zero, you can build a WordPress site in 2 hours. You can go ahead and build something, integrate with a payment gateway and make money. So an investor wants to see, have you done something on your own? Have you put your skin in the game? Have you put in the effort to at least validate that there is a market, there's a product market fit, right? It might not be the end all product, but it can be a prototype where you can showcase that, look, I'm getting daily active users, or I'm getting weekly active users, something. It can be revenue, it can be stickiness of the product with users, something has to be shown. Then now you're not going to invest it like a beggar. You're going to invest it with leverage. You're saying, look, you need to grow your money. I need to grow my business. You need me, I need you. So let's talk about valuation. Let's negotiate. Let's come to a point we both agree and be partners. You open up doors for me, you put in your money, I'll build the business, I have the team, and I'll do my 100% to grow your money. So now you're both talking, you both can negotiate, sign the shareholders agreement, go forward with it. Another option is for hardware startups, so people who are not into software or digital. So there is crowdfunding opportunity. So one of our incubated startups, CrowdPouch, they're the first crowdfunding platform for Indian startups. So like Kickstarter, Indiegogo in the US. So these are the first guys in India. So we have now seen for dying people, there are all these crowdfunding, FundMe, GoFundMe and all that. Right. This is for startups. So basically you say, one of my mentees did this. So iPhone has the speakers at the bottom. So she took a Starbucks coffee cup lid, cut it out, put it at the bottom of the phone and said, hey, look at this. It sounds so much louder when you have something like this. So she wanted $10,000. This was on Kickstarter. She raised $330,000, went to China, built the product. She already had customers before she even had the product. Wow. And that's the power of crowdfunding, where you can get people excited about it. It's not investors who are giving you $1 crore. These are small people who are giving you anything between $50 to $500 to $1,000. And that's how you raise your money from a pool of people you already validated. Now when you go to investor, they're like, oh, you already validated through crowdfunding, because people believe that there's a need for this product. So there are various ways. So one is crowdfunding, one is investors, one is phone companies. So these guys are mad because Apple and all, they're building the phone, right? Samsung is building the phone. But the software guys, YouTube and all, they're making the money. So they're saying, hey, I want to invest in your startup. I will give you access to downloads on various phones. So come on board. Let me get you on board into million Samsungs. So you don't have to pay Facebook for downloads. We will invest in you and you get on Samsung phones and you be in our ecosystem. So boom, you get like $500,000 or $1 million from Samsung and you get into million phones and you have the support of a massive brand. So there is these guys like Times of India, they give a 65% discount, right, of billboards, Radio Mirchi, newspapers. So all of these guys are giving you value plus money. Times of India doesn't give you money, but Google Ventures or Amazon Ventures or Samsung Ventures, these fellows will give you money plus access to things that you would otherwise have to pay. And that way your customer acquisition goes down, you get validity, and doors open up like anything for you. So there are all these opportunities for funding. So funding is plenty available. What is not available is entrepreneurs who actually want to build a business. Right. Most people are like, I have an idea, can I get funding so I can buy the Ferrari? And that's the problem.
So one thing that I wanted to just ask you about crowdfunding, do you think that there's a possibility of, say, that backfiring? So let's say if you haven't pitched your idea well enough in crowdfunding, maybe it shies away the investors that want to pool in money into your project, but then they see the results of the kind of crowdfunding that you've got, and if you have at all seek the validation from the people who are willing to crowdfund your project, and but they backed out because they didn't really like your pitch. So do you think that could backfire in a major way for your startup?
Not necessarily, because investors are not stupid people. These are people who have built businesses, so they understand that general people sometimes don't get what is good for them. For example, when Amazon came with Amazon Prime, it was 2-day free shipping. Nobody wanted it. Nobody was subscribing. As soon as Amazon said, here's movies and music and everything else, by the way, 2-day shipping. They're like, yes, I want the movies and 2-day shipping. Although that's the need, people want to pay for the movies. So investors understand that. So there will be matrices that will showcase that there is a need for your product, or the people are not paying for it. Fine. They need to see that, and they can extrapolate that idea and be like, I'll fund it because I see this growing over the next 3 years. People don't realize it, but when it launches in the market. So investors are also visionary. You have to understand. Of course, there are dumb money and smart money. There are some investors who are like, daddy gave me money, so here is my money.
Right.
And they have no idea what the market is all about. There are other investors who are entrepreneurs turned investors, who actually have done the hard work, who know how product market fit works. So those fellows would really identify this diamond, they'll identify it.
Since you mentioned this, I'd just like to repeat something that I said in the introduction. So you are running the largest startup incubator in East India with more than 400 plus startups as an investor. So what are the key points that an investor, must keep in mind before, investing or pulling in money for a startup?
Team. It's the people that make all the difference. You can come with a shitty idea and I can mentor you, and if you're the right guy, you will understand and quickly adapt to the market, and your idea will evolve into something amazing. But if the team is not dynamic, if the team is not skilled or smart, no matter how good the idea, it will fail, right? So the number one end all be all thing is the team. And number two is scalability, tech-enabled scalability. If there's tech involved in scalability, that's super important, because without scalability, you're just building a mommy puppy shop, kind of thing. And third thing is relevancy. In 3 years, if you will be relevant with 5G technology and automation and AI and all of that, are you going to be relevant in 3 years? If these three things go ahead, then that for me at least is what I judge the startups on.
Right. So, sir, we would love to hear about your first startup. How did you start? How did you, what was the process? What were the challenges? If you could brief us a little about your experience.
Sure. So for me, I always wanted to be a politician, actually. And after 7 generations of politics, so my mother was like, not for you. You're too naive for politics. You're not getting it. So my other option was business. So I was always looking for that opportunity when I was studying in the US, like how could I start my startup? And one day I saw this little flyer that says business idea competition. And I was like, I tore the flyer, took it to my home, like this is what I was looking for. And they said you need 2 other co-founders, and there were 10 questions and you have to answer those. And so we won the competition, third place, but we won. So I was excited. So what it allowed us was you can recruit your friends and build your team, and then there'll be a faculty advisor and you could start. So, and it's actually a requirement in a university to have 2 IPROs, interprofessional projects. So it's like a project turned into a startup. We started winning competitions in US and Canada, 14 competitions, $40,000 free money that we won against Harvard and Cornell and all these, Stanford, all these big universities. We were like tiny kids. And that was huge. We got all over the news. And because at that time, Facebook just came in, MySpace was going down, and parents were very scared about pedophiles, cyberbullies, and all these things that were happening. Kids were dying in the park. People were impersonating profiles and whatnot. Yeah. And that time we came up with this thing for girls aged between 8 and 13, where it's a social network just for them. But think about Apple Watch before Apple Watch. So it was like a necklace, a smart necklace, with which you sync in the real world. You become friends on the social network, no search feature, no random pedophiles who can add you, randomly. And that was the whole thing. It was a hardware, authentication device and communication device. So you can be sitting in class and say that boy is cute, right? and that kind of a necklace. So secret communication and friend authentication. That went quite wild. We went to China, so I did the software, the hardware, everything. It was like a massive experience for an 19-year-old. You can only imagine, right? Building the hardware in China, the software was built in Macedonia. I was cheated by the Macedonians, right? Right before launch, they said, give us $10,000 or we won't release the code. So we had to give $10,000.
So that, I believe, was your first challenge.
First challenge, yeah. So working with international folks, it was crazy. But overall, it was a fantastic experience. Of course, biggest challenge was immigration, because I was a student in F1 visa, and the laws didn't have anything for entrepreneurs. So basically, my co-founder became the chairman. I was the CEO. So you need a boss basically for H1B visa. So I got H1B under my own company. I got funding for my company so we could show this liquidity, and I have a boss, and it checked all the boxes. So it was a hack.
Everything's legit.
It was very legit. It was a hack. I never thought I would get the visa. I came to Calcutta for my visa. It was like sweating. I was like, I'm dead. And with 30 seconds, she gave me the visa. I was like, holy shit, under my own company, I got my H1B visa.
Wow.
So that was very amazing. So thereafter, one after another company, we kept building. But yeah, that was, so the first business took us 3 years to launch. The second business was 21 days. Because the first business was so many unknowns. As a teenager, you're trying to figure out immigration, you're trying to figure out technology, you're trying to figure out product development, product design, hardware, software, interfacing, bugs. Oh my God, you name it. We had all the problems you can imagine. My mother came to visit me for the first time, and she's like, you come home at 3 a.m., you live at 8 a.m., why did I even come? It's like, well, that's my life. And so, for a Bengali family, it's like, what is my son doing? So there were challenges, but it was like 10 MBAs in one, right? It was huge learning experience.
So how much did your parents support you through this phase?
So it was actually, my parents got separated in the middle of that. So my father stopped paying for my education. As a result, I had to figure out my finances also, whilst trying to raise money for my startup in the middle of a recession. So 2008, 2009 crisis, that's when this was happening. So me and my co-founder were selling cheese biscuits on the streets of Chicago to just pay for our rent and electricity bill and all that. So Saturdays, so I'm a ISKCON devotee. So in our ISKCON Chicago temple, we were baking cheese biscuits on Saturdays. On Sundays, we were selling it on the streets of Chicago. We were making 600% profit. So 5 days we could work on the technology business, which paid nothing at the time, right? And then eventually we got funded, and then life changed. But the point is, everything that could go wrong was going wrong. We got rejected by 300 venture capitalists, right? And because nobody was investing, it was the worst economic crisis, 10% unemployment rate. People were like, you guys are crazy. And I was like, I don't know anything but startups. I cannot get a job, right? It's just not my cup of tea. And my co-founder and I decided we have to live on the streets, we'll live on the streets, but we have to make this company, launch, and we did.
Wow. So, all those people watching this thinking that, there are these just steps to follow in order to build a business. This is the reality check that you're about to get after, listening to this entire session. So, I was just going to ask you that in today's world, what are the immediate challenges that everyone faces and how you overcome it? But I believe that you have answered that not only once, but giving us a very realistic feel to it. So I'm just going to jump to the second segment of this. So before we move on to the next segment of this session, why don't we watch a quick video?
Red Bull Basement is this amazing platform for me to share my idea with the world.
In order to change the world, you need to find people that think like you to make something bigger.
In today's world, things turn over fast, so you might as well do the coolest thing you can think of doing.
I quickly wanted to introduce our audience to this really cool event that Red Bull has come up with. It's called Red Bull Basement. So over here, all you need to do is submit an idea in a duration of a 60-second video, and it just has to be something that drives a positive change. And it starts off with a selection phase, and between the selection to the climax, which is a global workshop, you get to finally pitch. And in between, there are various phases where you get mentorship, you are completely groomed. There's a voting phase, there's a selection phase, etc. To know more, log on to the website given in the caption below. So, Mr. Roy, I wanted to know what is your viewpoint on the kind of initiative that Red Bull is taking, where the brand literally is giving wings to college entrepreneurs?
I've always appreciated Red Bull for giving wings to people, add things, add cars, and whatever else. So it's fantastic. I think students need that inspiration, and the energy aspect that Red Bull that they have. Entrepreneurship is about energy, skills, and innovation, right? So it perfectly matches, the brand matches, and what they're giving is a rare opportunity to get access to international investors and mentorship. I think that's going to really, really help. So I highly recommend people taking advantage of the situation and make their dream come reality.
So, talking about such initiatives, I just wanted to ask, what do you feel about the startup culture like currently? So, do you think that it has evolved where there are more opportunities and there are more mentors out there who are willing to help, more investors? The entire culture is I believe growing or evolving.
Absolutely. I mean, it has evolved. The mentor part is a little questionable because I have a negative view on things, but people who just have read certain books and come and say, yeah, never have been built a startup. So that can hurt people than help people because it's not all rosy and flowery, right? It is a lot of struggles and all. So people come for the Ferrari, but they realize the Ferrari is waiting for like 8-10 years before they get to that point. So that's why you get a lot of entrepreneurs, right? So that's what you get out of it. But having said that, yes, there's a lot of evolution thanks to internet connectivity in tier 2, tier 3 cities. I get even people from Sundarbans, like this girl on my birthday wrote to me, "Sir, I watch your videos. My father got eaten by a tiger. My mother is blind. And the only hope I have is seeing your videos that I can also be a startup entrepreneur." And I literally had tears in my eyes reading that, and I helped her through, and she's not an entrepreneur, she got a job, but she's in a much better place than where she was, right? And the point is, wow, somebody in the remotest part of the world has exposure to startups, being their own boss, which was not even a thing. So yes, there is evolution, but one has to be very intelligent in getting the help they need from the right places and the right people.
So, I mean, I believe technological advancement has a very large role to play
Huge.
in terms of reaching out to the masses this way.
Absolutely. I mean, I have startups in Murshidabad and places even I don't know the names of, and they're making 4-5 lakhs a month. And these people, their parents have not made more than 10 to 15,000 rupees a month. That's the salary of their parents, Bardhaman and places like that. And their kids are making 4 lakhs and hiring their parents to do accounting and things like that. One of the kids, he got his mother to cut the ribbon off his office. And it was such an emotional moment for them. Dreams come true. And that's what I love about in Kolkata Ventures, although other businesses that are there. I'm known for Kolkata Ventures because there's so much impact that happen in people's lives and you see people's dreams literally come true, right? And that's a lot to do with technology because people have YouTube. And many people, of our age, especially your generation, are watching comedies and whatnot on TikTok, which can be good, but many people are also watching things that help them build their own career. There are teenagers who are starting startups and minting money, literally, right? So that's happening thanks to technology.
I just like to, digress a little bit over here since you mentioned TikTok over here. I know that it's been banned out here, but talking about that particular segment, I read somewhere where a student wrote in, these captions on Instagram and various social media platforms where they say that I've learned more on TikTok than I have in a classroom. So this is something from a completely different perspective than what we've already known about, because we keep watching these cringy videos, but then there's also a flip side to that wherein people actually channelize their energy into something positive, like they want to drive a change, they probably mentor someone, they give out positive vibes. So do you think that that's a way to go about, that's one medium on social media?
It's basically technology is a tool, right? Back in the days, people would go with guns and cover up their faces to rob a bank. Now you can sit at a hotel room, use a Wi-Fi and rob a bank. People do that all the time. So similarly with TikTok, some people, when I first downloaded TikTok, I was like, there is Deepika Padukone, and the next video is of this girl with a mud hut and doing the same song, and she's better than Deepika Padukone. I was like, this is true democratization of talent. It's not nepotism. It's not I know this person, that's how I got there. It's I have talent, here's technology, here I am. You like me, you give me more likes than Deepika Padukone. Fantastic, right? And yes, it is true. I mean, there's EduTalk. TikTok had this hashtag called EduTalk. Yeah. People are teaching digital marketing and law and astrology and whatever else, Ayurveda. Yeah, it's absolutely educated in 15 seconds creatively, boom, 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 and people learn. So technology is a tool. So you can use it or get used by it. It's a choice.
That's a very nice way of putting it. So before we wind up, we wanted to know your views on Red Bull Basement and what would be your guidance to the people watching this or willing to participate. How should they go about it?
I'll talk about one of my life's failures. When Shark Tank just came out, they did the audition in Chicago. Me and my co-founder went. We actually got in. We got 45-page contract saying, okay, ABC is going to have 2% of your revenue perpetually. Our investors said, okay, what is this Shark Tank? And we looked at the UK version of it, and that was Dragon's Den. And they said, oh, they really ridicule the people. This is not good for your branding. Don't go. We didn't go. And Shark Tank became a massive hit, right? 8 o'clock, prime time, ABC, national television, and you're there. 5 minutes on Shark Tank is worth $500,000. We missed that opportunity. So learn from my mistake. Don't be stupid. If somebody is giving an opportunity, go for it. Whether you lose or win, you don't know. You will make friends. You will meet people. You will learn so much that beyond just the prize or beyond just the thing about meeting investors, the point is there is so much more. The experience that you will gain that will push you several notches further, towards your dream. So take on this opportunity and just grab it and do the best you can do with it. You might not get to the international level. That's okay. Still, you will make new friends and new people, new mentors who you might have a lifetime of relationship, and you never know. One of those could be your co-founder for $1 billion company. You never know.
Okay. So, I could say that the few things that I can take from this is that grab every opportunity that comes your way and make sense. That's all for today. I'd like to thank Mr. Avelo Roy for taking the time out for this amazing session. Would also like to mention Kolkata Ventures, and please don't forget to tag your friends who might be interested in the comment section below. To know more about this event, check out the link given in the caption. Thank you.